Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Escape from Tarkov has a bunch of quests. For those familiar with the game, you are very well aware of that. And one of the quest lines is the gunsmith with a mechanic, one of your traders. There are just 16 of those gunsmith parts, and you need some parts for that, which most of the time you cannot get your hands on it, or you need to know, more or less know what's going on. Some of them are available in barter trades, others are not available. You might have to find them, or have to wait till you're level 20 and reach the flea market. That is the number for this wipe, at least. Started in July 2021. Patch 12.11. That also means that with that patch, they have been messing around a little bit with ergonomic and recoil numbers on some of these parts, and that also means that although you might be familiar with the gunsmith from previous wipes, you're probably gonna have to use some other parts here and there to make the ergonomic and recoil numbers work. Let's have a look at them. I've done all 16 of them. I turned them in. They all work. The builds that come by. Now, be aware, there are other builds possible. There might be possibilities where you can use another pistol grip or another foregrip or something like that. In some cases, you will not have a choice because he needs a specific part. And then it will ask for it, or it needs to be parts from a certain brand or something like that. Gunsmith part number 1. As soon as you unlock or start up the quest line from Gunsmith part number 1, it's one of the earliest quests that you can start up. You can start up, when you start the game, a quest with Prepor, one with Therapist, and one with Mechanic. As soon as you start up Gunsmith part number 1, and you go, let's say you go back to the menu and you go have a look again on your Mechanic, you see that he will have a second quest, which is called Introduction. That means that you have to go to the woods map and pick up a message on the tree hut in the southeast near ZB16. You find a message on under the tree hut, you pick it up, you try to extract with it. Obviously, as always with these questings that you need to pick up, you need to survive with it. If you do not survive with it, then you have to go back and pick it up again. By doing that, assuming that you survived, you hand it over to Mechanic, and by doing that you unlock Jaeger. Why is that important in this case? Because Jaeger sells the MP133 shotgun on level 1. So once you have him unlocked, you can buy this shotgun. For all the gunsmith parts, it's the same requirement. Your gun needs to have 60% durability. I bought most of the guns, that's why you will see that the durability in this case is 100, so it is 100%. But it is also possible that if you found this MP133 shotgun on one of the scavs or something, then you need to check the durability. Because it needs to be 60% at least, otherwise he will not take it. In the case of the shotgun, that's not a big deal because at the same time, Prepor also needs 2 of these MP133s, so if you find one with 40 or 50% durability, you can give that to him. Mechanic, 60% at least, and if you have Jaeger unlocked, you can buy it. I think it's about 23,000 rubles. It needs to be 4 cells, which means you have to take out the stock and change it into a pistol grip, which you can get also from Jaeger level 1. The thing originally comes with a bleach wood rail here. That works if you can find the Remington RTC muzzle brake. If you have that, then it needs a tactical device. You can use the TBL blue laser, which you can get from Skier level 1. And then you attach it to the gun with the sprut, which you can also get. And then it works. Remington, the sprut with the TBL, and then the pistol grip, and you turn it in. That works. If you can't get your hands on the Remington muzzle brake, which more than likely, unless you found it somewhere, you will not have it available, then you're gonna have to make some changes, and that means that you will have to put on the cylinder, which you can get from Jaeger level 1, and the GKO2 muzzle brake, which you can get from Jaeger level 2. But if you don't have him at level 2, which most people do not have him in the beginning, obviously, then you need to find this thing. It does pop up regularly, especially in weapon crates and so on the map. I think I found like 4 or 5 or so of those things already. So yeah, you can definitely get your hands on out there on the map. Now, if you put these things up, then you cannot work with the bleach wood rail anymore. Then you have to change that, the handguard, because your ergonomics will be not correct. Then you're gonna have to use the custom MP133 plastic handguard with rail. You can get that thing from mechanic. You can barter trade it for a damaged hard disk. A lot of computers on the map. If you search a few, it will not take you that long to find a hard disk. You can also find them from time to time in filing cabinets here and there in the buildings, customs, reserve, and so on. You find a hard disk pretty easily. So yeah. You can also level 2, I think. You can just buy it from Jaeger, but yeah, Jaeger at level 2, then you need to be level 15 already before you can get these parts. So before that, you probably found the GKO2 and you found a hard disk to change it with mechanic. Then you put that thing on, vertical pistol grip or something to get the recoil numbers. Vertical pistol grip, why the vertical pistol grip? Because it's pretty cheap and you can get it from Peacekeeper level 1, if I'm not mistaken. So, pistol grip, to make it 4 cells, it needs a laser, so the TBL from Skier. Either the Remington muzzle brake, if you cannot get your hands on it, then you use cylinder plus GKO2, that also works. But if you use this, then you need to change the bleach wood into the plastic one and put the vertical pistol grip on it. This is more or less the same build as in previous wipes. Gunsmith number 2, more or less as you can see it here. It's a pretty stock AKS 74U, which you can get from Perpor. You can also find it from time to time on scraps. Again, make sure it has 60% durability or mechanic will not accept it. I just bought one from Perpor, I think, at a certain moment. The specific thing that it needs here is it needs to have the Zenith B11. The thing with the rail over here. And to make the numbers match a little bit, you need to get a bit of a foregrip on it. Again, Peacekeeper vertical pistol grip. You can get it from him. Biggest problem you're gonna have with this one is the 6L31 60 round mag. You might be lucky and find it out there on the map. If you cannot find it, you can also not buy it till later levels of traders. And so yeah, then your best shot is to upgrade your hideout. Lavatory level 2, you can craft this thing. You can make the 6L31 by crafting, if I'm not mistaken, 1 keg tape and 4 30 rounders. The 30 rounders you can get from Perpor for about 2,000 rubles. So you buy 4 of those, and if you find a keg tape on the map, then you can start crafting. That's how you can get them. Perpor also needs 3 of these, so you're gonna have to craft probably a few anyway. You probably will not find 4 of those. 3 for Perpor and 1 for the gunsmith. So yeah, crafting is your best option in lavatory. Nothing much more than that. 6L31, it's gonna be your biggest problem, more than likely. The B11 you can just get from Skier level 1, or you can even trade it, barter trade with mechanic for something, but it's not that expensive. You can just buy it from Skier, few thousand rubles only. Then your recoil is a bit too high, so put on the vertical pistol grip and you should be good to go. Gunsmith number 3 is a bit more complicated. You need to get your hands on the MP5 SD. More than likely you will not be able to get your hands on it. So your best option is to get your hands on a normal MP5 and then convert it to an SD. You're probably gonna have to wait a little bit with this one because you need Peacekeeper on level 2. And then then you are level 14. Because you need to convert it, the normal one. The normal MP5 you can buy from Peacekeeper for I think it's $550, or you can barter trade it. You have these brown knives that you find all over the place on scabs. For 8 of those knives you can barter trade for an MP5. And then you need the MP5 SD upper receiver. You need the MP5 SD handguard, and you need the MP5 SD suppressor. All these parts you can get from Peacekeeper level 2. It also needs a tactical device again, so we go to Skier again for the tactical blue laser. 5,000 rubles or something that thing costs with Skier. But to be able to attach that thing, you need the SD3 rail mount, and you can also buy that from Peacekeeper, and there is also barter trade with mechanic for it, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, the 3 rail mount, the suppressor, the handguard, the upper receiver, TBL laser thing you can get from Skier. It needs 200 meter range. Just make sure you leave this little rear sight that comes with the gun. Just leave it on. That gives you 200 meter range. The biggest problem you're going to have here is more than likely the X5 MP5 drum mag. 50 round drum mag. That's going to be your biggest problem for this one. You can buy it if you have if you're level 20 or above. You can just buy it on the market. You can also barter trade it, but that is, if I'm not mistaken, with mechanic level 2, which means that you will be at level 20, because otherwise you cannot get mechanic to level 2. So yeah, you can barter trade for it, or you can just buy it on the flea market, this thing here, unless you were lucky enough to find it on a raider or so. Some of the raiders are running around with MP5, and then you might be able to find a 50 round drum mag on it. As it is here, it works, and he accepted it. Gunsmith part number 4. It's a Colt M4A1, which you can get from Peacekeeper. Standard gun that you can get from him. You also get one as a reward, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even twice as a reward for some other quest from some other traders. Here you have to play around a little bit with parts. There are definitely other builds possible than the ones that I have used here, but I used the AR-15 260mm barrel inside. I used the AR-15 Viper handguard, that's this thing here. It needs a 60 round mag. You can either use this one, which is the Mag 5-60, or you can use the PMag D60, the drum mag is also a possibility. If you use the drum mag, you are going to get about 400 grams more weight. But on this build I can change to the drum mag, and it will still be okay with the numbers. You're probably going to need some sort of pistol grip and stock to get the numbers correct. In my case I used the AR-15 Mag Mopol, the Magpul Mo pistol grip. I used the Colt buffer tube so that I could put a stock on it, and I used the CTR black stock. Then we are not there yet with our ergonomics and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you get the M-Lock 4.1 inch from Mechanic, that little mount rail thing. And then I used the RK1 foregrip. You can use other foregrips, just make sure that your numbers are correct. The biggest problems you're more than likely gonna have is you need to have a sight on it for 800 meters. Back in previous wipes we used the 25mm ring with the PLAT 432, which you can get from Jaeger. You have a problem with ergonomics if you use that. So this is one of those builds where you can no longer use that. So what do we use instead? The Bravo 4 scope over here. That also gives you 800 meter range, and it makes the numbers match. It needs to be suppressed. You also want the MK12 low profile gas block. You can get that thing from Peacekeeper if I'm not mistaken. It needs to be suppressed. That's where your problem will probably come in. You need a flash hider, either the Warcomp or the AR-15. The Warcomp is pretty expensive, so I would suggest go for the other one to be able to put the suppressor on. And the suppressor more than likely needs to be the mini monster. I tried the normal monster, but then my numbers were not correct anymore, so I have to go for the mini monster, which gonna cost you a little bit of money from the flea market. Money should not be a problem with this build because you get a Bitcoin as a reward, which means you can sell that for, at the time when I built it, I could sell it for about 220,000 rubles. So yeah, even if you spend about 100,000 on this build, then or even 150,000, you will still make profit because you get a Bitcoin as a reward. As you can see it here, this is a possible build. I've seen some other videos out there where other builds are possible. Yeah, that is the whole idea of the Gunsmith after all, is that you play around with these parts a bit till your numbers are correct. I'm just showcasing all 16 the way I built them. And these all work. There are other possibilities which also work out there. Some cases, like here in this case, he needed specifically 60 round, yeah. Then don't make a build with a 30 round mag. It's not gonna work. He will not accept it, obviously. Gunsmith number 5. You don't have that much work with this one. It just needs a tactical device, and it needs to have 2000 meter range. The DVL Saboteur. You can buy that thing on the flea market, unless you found one. I haven't found it, so I had to buy it. I haven't changed anything on it, except for the fact that it needs a laser. Just again, skier level 1, get the TVL. It's cheap, and it comes back in several builds because it's cheap and it works. You need 2000 meter range, and you're gonna get that from the Night Force 735. To be able to put that thing on there, you need to have some rings. 34mm rings will work. So 34mm ring with the Night Force, that will give you the 2000 meter range. And then all your numbers are correct, and then you want to turn it in, and then he says like, I don't want it. The problem with that is you need to take out the magazine. For one reason or another, he does not accept it with a magazine. So take out the magazine for this one. Gunsmith part number 6. This is going to be a bit more expensive because you need a few specific parts here and there. Be aware, this reward you 2 bitcoins. So about 440,000 rubles you will get as a reward, which means you can also spend a bit of money on it to build it. It needs 1500 meter range. You can put on the 30mm ring, and I put on a Voodoo 16-24 Voodoo. There is another one which gives you 1500 meter range. Also, that might work. I have not tested that. The Voodoo worked eventually. 22-inch AR-10 rail is inside the barrel. 22-inch barrel. I haven't changed anything else on it. I bought this gun from the flea market. The stock was on there. The PRS Gen 2 buffer tube was on there. The Magpul pistol grip was on there. The PMAC 762. I have turned it in like this. I read somewhere on the wiki that also for this build that you need to take out the magazine. I could turn it in like this. I have used the 40s shift, which is quite an expensive foregrip here. It's possible that he actually asked for it on this one. I'm not sure if it's this one or one of the other builds, because I'm using this stock a few times, because it gives you +9 on ergonomics. It needs to be suppressed. I use the DT mount and the hybrid 46 silencer, and the GPK gas block in there as well, to make the numbers more or less what you wanted to. So as you can see it here, this works. Gunsmith number 6. Reward 2 Bitcoins. Part number 7 is the Remington 870 shotgun. I think he specifically needs a Magpul Mo handguard. So yeah, we put that thing on. And then you need to try to get your numbers correct. You need the M870 SGA stock. You probably will not get your hands on it, so you're going to have to go flea market, and you might actually pay quite a bit for that, because people know that you need this part for this gunsmith. So yeah, they're asking a bit of ridiculous money for it. And if you do not have your traders on level 3 and forward, then you can not get half of these parts. That's the problem of this Gunsmith Questline from time to time. Barrel, I'm using the 508. That I think that was in their stock, and I did not need to change another barrel. So M870 SGA stock, the Magpul Mo handguard. Also here, tactical device. So put the TBL on the side, and then you need to still match it with your numbers to get the recoil and the ergonomics going. M-Lock 4.1 inch guide, you can get it from Mechanic, and then you can put on a foregrip. I use the BGV MK46, pretty cheap, and you can get it from Skier or from Peacekeeper. And you need the Remington choke on there to get the numbers where they need to be as well. Meanwhile, you should have Jaeger on level 2 and Skier on level 2, and Skier, I think it is, who sells the Remington choke. Unlike for Gunsmith part number 1, where you cannot get your hands on it at that moment if you do that in the beginning. And then, so that also might be an option, that you change to the cylinder and the GKO2, like you did with the Gunsmith part number 1. I haven't tested that. It might be that the numbers are not correct then. So yeah, just get the Remington to be sure. For number 7. Gunsmith part number 8 is an AKM build. And I think he needed some specific parts here. I think he needed the Rotor 43 silencer. He needed the 40s shift grip, and he needed the GL shock as a stock. Other than that, you can more or less do what you want with it, as long as you have the numbers, ergonomics and recoil correct, and also 800 meter range. Unlike with the M4, on this build, the 25mm ring with the Pilat 432 does work. The ergonomics are just fine with this thing, unlike with the M4, where we had to use the Bravo 4 to get the 800 meter range. On this build, it works just like this. The Gen M3 mag on it, 40 shift grip, the GL shock stock. I use the AK-12 pistol grip. You potentially could use some other pistol grip. Just make sure that your recoil and ergonomics numbers are correct. That's the whole idea of this gunsmith after all. Mess around with the parts till the numbers are what he wants him to be. and that gets you familiar with weapon modding. That's the whole idea of the Gunsmith. And I think for this one, yeah, specifically he asked for the Rotor 43, R43. And we use the Mo AKM, might be possible. You also have an AKML, you have an anodized one, you have, there are a few flat dark earth, there are a few different colors available. To be able to put the rings on, you obviously need to take up the dust cover and change it to something with a rail. In this case, the Bastion will do. You can also use the Zenith B33, but that's more expensive. So Bastion you can get from one of the traders. So Bastion you will see come back on some of these builds that I have here. Part number 8, just like number 6, also rewards you with 2 bitcoins. So yeah, you're gonna have to spend some money on this sporty shift grip, because more than likely you will not be able to get it from the traders yet. And the GL shock will also probably cost you a few rubles. But you get 2 bitcoins from it as a reward if you turn this in. So yeah, you get about 440,000 rubles back. So you can spend some money on it. That's how I see it. Part number 9 is an AKS74N. And yeah, this is sort of the Zenith build. He wants all kind of Zenith parts on it. I use the RK3 pistol grip. You need the PT lock to be able to put the stock on it. I think he specifically asked for the PT3 Classica stock. You have the PT1 as well, but he needed specifically the PT3, so we put it on. The RP1 Zenith charge handle, the B33 dust cover Zenith. That also means that you have to use the B10M B19 rails here, because the B10 does not work with the B33 dust cover. They give a conflict, so you need to use the B10M plus B19, so that you can put some stuff on it. For instance, a foregrip. It didn't specifically ask for Zenith. You can use a Zenith one, RK1, RK0, RK4. You can play around with that till your numbers are correct. I just use the UVG, the vertical grip over here. Why did I use this one? Because I had it in my inventory and it worked with the numbers. And the Zenith DTK1 muzzle brake. Flash hider, whatever you want to call that thing. I'm not that familiar with all these specific names for all these parts, but I know you need mainly Zenith parts, and this build works. Gunsmith part number 10 is an AK105. You need some specific things on this. It needs to be suppressed. Other than that, I can't remember exactly the exact numbers that he wanted here, but it's pretty much just like part number 9. I use a lot of Zenith parts. It needs a 60 round mag. The 6L31 will work just fine. I used the Zenith RK3 pistol grip again. I used the PT lock. This guy I used the PT1 stock because I had one sitting. You could potentially also use the PT3 as in the previous build. The RP1 charge handle gives you always 1 plus 1 on ergonomics. In this case, I think if I remember correctly, the ergonomics need to be 48 for this one. So you actually need to put in that RP1 charge handle that gives you the charger thing, gives you plus 1 always. If you're like 1 ergonomic short on all these AKs, put in that RP1 thing and it will give you plus 1. The Bastion dust cover, because we need to put a scope on it, unlike with the other build. The 25mm ring with the pilot does not work here, so we're going back to the Bravo 4, just like we did with the Colt M4. That also gives you a 800 meter range. I'm using the Zenit B10 this time. Since we are using the Bastion, you can use the B10 plus the Bastion, or you can use the B10 and B19 plus the B33. That also works. But it didn't necessarily ask for Zenit parts, but I had some sitting, so I used most of these. They bring the recoil down pretty good, all these Zenit parts. In this case I used the RVG Black as my foregrip, because it didn't needed anything else. DT mount with the hybrid 46 silencer, that makes it silenced, and then he was happy with it. Ergonomics are 48, and the recoil is needs to be less than 300. I have 286, so it works the way you see it here. Also here it needs to be 6 cells, I think, so you need to fold that stock when you turn it in, otherwise you will not take it. That's why you need to put on the foldable stock. Pt1 or Pt3 will work. Part 11 is an AS Vel. You get an AS Vel, I think, from Propor as a reward from one of his quests, so you can always keep that. The stock is folded when you start this build. Unfold it first. You have to unfold that build, otherwise it doesn't work. He wants the GL shock here, so that's what we did. We used the R43 Vel buffer tube so that we could put the GL stock on there. I did not change the pistol grip. I did not... I think it needed a 30 round mag, so you use the SRM 30, the 130 over here. Because originally it comes with a 20, I think. Well, you get it from Propor, from the reward, from that quest from him. He has a 20 round mag. You need a 30 round mag, so that's something that you're gonna have to buy. And he needs the NSPU Night Force thing, the night scope. So that night scope on there. The GL shock, the stock here, 30 round mag, the SRM 130. The Vel suppressor was already on it, I think. And he needs specifically the ANPEQ 15 laser device. So yeah, this is something that specific part you're gonna get your hands on. Either find it or buy it from the market, because it needs to be the ANPEQ 15 laser device, and then this thing will work. I think is it this one or the next one? When you turn that in, you get 2 ammo cases as a reward. Part number 12 is another AK build. This time an AK 102. The 102, that also means a different caliber. This is a 5.56, which means you need the 6L29 mag. Pistol grip, you don't have to change, you can just use the stock one. It needs to have the PT lock again, the 74M this time, which is a different PT lock than for the previous builds, and the PT1 Classica stock. I have on here. It needs to have 800 meter range, so here we are again. This time we didn't have to use the Bravo. We could get away with the 25mm ring and the Pilat 432. That gives you 800 meter range. Bastion, dust cover to put the ring on there. The Magpul AKM over here. I think it needed a flash drive, more specifically the Clash 2U from Zenit, so that you put that thing on there. You might need to buy an M-Lock 2.5 inch guide. You can get those, I think, from Mechanic. The inch guide. You have 2.5 inch and you have 4 inch. R43 muzzle brake, silencer, suppressor, whatever you want to call it, the rotor 43 5.56 this time, and it needed the AFG OD for the grip over here specifically. That's why it is sort of olive green thing in a way. Doesn't really fit with all the black part that we have on there, but because you have a black one on this, you also have a gray one, I think, and a beige one, which is called flat earth or something, but flat dark earth. You need the olive green one thing, so you need to be that specifically. That's what he asked for. That's sort of this build. PT lock with the Pt1 stock. You need 800 meter range, 25 millimeter with the pilot on a bastion. That works just fine. The Clash 2U flashlight he needed, and the rotor 43 suppressor. Played around a bit with it, and the numbers were correct. It needs 51 ergonomics and less than 250 recoil. We have 242 or something. Works like this. Number 13 is a SIG MPX. Let's see, what did he need specifically here? I think he needed the TD 20001 pistol grip. So you want to get your hands on that thing, the skeletonized or whatever it's called. So that's specifically a part that he wanted on it. And he also wants the annihilator muzzle brake. You can get it from the traders, I think, this one, or at least a barter trade available for it with one of your traders. And he needs the LAS TAC 2 tactical device. So he is asking more for specific parts on this build: the annihilator muzzle brake, the or flash hider, whatever it's called, the LAS TAC tactical device, and the skeletonized pistol grip. And then you need to put on some foregrip, because otherwise your numbers are not correct yet. So we just use the BGP MK46, which you can get for pretty cheap from one of your traders. Other than that, nothing specifically. Just these three specific parts that he wanted: the flashlight, the flash hider, and the pistol grip for number 13. 14 is an AKMN this time. I think this is the one where he wants specifically Magpul Mo parts. So we have the Mo AKM over here. We used the Bastion again to put on a scope. The Compact 2X we have put on there, which gives you 500 meter range. The AKTSAK buffer tube, and then you can put on the Magpul Mo stock. You can also use the Magpul Mo pistol grip. It's all Magpul, this build. And you also need the Gen M3, which is the Magpul magazine. And also the handguard is from Magpul, if I'm not mistaken. And he wants specifically the AFG M-Lock black. Everything needs to be black. Do not make a mistake of buying the stealth gray one, which some people out there are selling for about 380 to 400,000. It will not take it. Do not buy that thing for 400,000 and then come to the conclusion like, oh, I bought the gray one, it needs to be the black one. AFG M-Lock black. Make sure that it says black. Because some people are trying to take advantage from some new players that don't know what they are doing, and putting up the stealth gray one for 400,000, and you do not need it on any build. That's stealth gray one. You need the black one, which will also be quite expensive. And the rotor 43 muzzle brake makes it silenced, which is also something that he wanted. these numbers are correct. We needed 47 ergonomics, so we had a little bit of a problem because we were at 46.5. So the RP1 from Zenith, the charge handle thing, gives you, as I mentioned before, always one ergonomics. So we have 47.5 now, and this build works the way it is here. Gunsmith part number 15, we're almost there. It needs 2000 meter range, so here we are again with our Night Force. We use the M1A Archangel stock. That's sort of where you start with. You need to get your hands on it, because if you buy a normal M1A, it will have like some sort of normal, more or less shotgun look in a way. You need to get this Archangel stock, otherwise you will never get to your numbers. You also need to change the barrel, more than likely. Needs the 260 millimeter barrel, if I'm not mistaken. Or 22 inch. I don't know what it is originally, 16 I think or something. You want to get the 22 inch barrel in there. So the Archangel stock, the 22 inch barrel, and then you need the range again. So you put the 34 millimeter rings on it with the Night Force scope. That gives you a 2000 meter range. Also here, take out the magazine, otherwise you will not take it. It needs the Hollow Sun, which is the LS321 laser device. That is the Hollow Sun. And then you need to get those numbers down with the X3 762 muzzle brake over here. And it also needs the T1 microsight, so you need the AKMN mount on here, and then the T1 microsight you can put up there, and then over here on this mount you put on the scope. Not sure why he needs like a sight and a scope, but I'm also wondering, can you even see through this with this thing in front of you? But it is what it is. The way it is, like here, it will turn it in, and that's the most important when with the gunsmith. Does he take it? He does take it the way you see it here. Which brings us to the last build, Gunsmith part number 16. Here you're gonna have to spend some money on it to make all this work, and to get your numbers correct you're gonna have to play around a lot with this thing. Most money you're gonna spend here more than likely on the Reaper night scope thing, and you even need the eye cup on it because otherwise your numbers are not going to match. So you need to buy the scope plus the eye cup for the scope. To be able to put it up here, you need the D-Lock IRD mount over here. You need the MK10 handguard. He specifically asked for that. The AR-15 260 millimeter in there. I used the Colt buffer tube, and then the EMOD stock works just fine. And the pistol grip, the Growl S. I don't know if it specifically asked for it, but that's the one I'm using. And 60 round drum mag. In this case, the PMAC D60. I think you have to use this one more than likely. I think because he specifically asked for it. In the other M4 build that we did earlier, you can use the normal 60 round mag if you want. It didn't ask anything specific about the foregrip, so I put on the UVG again, the vertical grip. Could potentially use one of the Zeniths, RK1, RK0 might also work. Also, always make sure that your numbers are correct. MK12 low profile gas block, and it needs the suppressor from QDC. So you need the QDC flash hider, and then you can put on the QDSS silencer because that is something that he specifically asked for. To be able to put it on, you also need the QDC flash hider. So that's something specific. The Reaper is also something specific he wants, and the MK10 handguard as well, and I think also the Grell S pistol grip. And that is the last part. When you turn this thing in, you get the case, the weapon case, as a reward eventually. And then you're also done with the Gunsmith Quest, because there are 16 parts. There are other builds possible, more than likely, but the ones you saw come by here, they work for, at least at this moment in time. We are now end July 2021, patch 12.11. At this moment in time, these builds work. Why do I say at this moment in time? Because Nikita and therefore also BSG, Battle State Games, likes to make some changes from time to time. That's what they also did for this patch. They changed the ergonomics on and recoil numbers on some of these parts, which means you might see some different builds than in previous wipes, and then probably also in future wipe. If they change some numbers again, we might have to rebuild some of these weapons differently later if we do the Gunsmith again in the next wipe, for instance. The 16 parts that you saw here, let's quickly go over them again, scroll through it. The shotgun MP133, as you can see it here, works. Number 2, the AKS-74U. Number 3 is the MP5, which you have to convert into an MP5 SD. The Colt M4 in part number 4. A bit different build than the last one, because that's also an M4. Number 5 is the DVL Saboteur, mainly about the scope, because yeah, the laser you can get, and other than that you don't have to change anything on it. Part number 6 is the Remington R11 with specific range builds and stuff like that. The DVL, don't forget to take out the magazine. The Remington 870 shotgun, mainly about getting your hands on this stock over here. Part number 8 is the AKM. Just about the numbers mainly, this one. This build is more about getting the numbers correct. I do think he asked for the 40 shift grip on this one. But other than that, you just need to use some parts so that your numbers are what he wants them to be. Part number 9 is the AKS-74N. Pretty much a Zenit build. All Zenit parts. B10M, B33, PT3, PT lock, RK3 pistol grip, the DTK muzzle brake. The only thing which is not Zenit is the foregrip. And seeing we were working with it for this AK-105 in part number 10, I pretty much used the same parts here. PT lock, PT RK3 pistol grip. This time I used the RPG black. Sometimes you just use, if the numbers are matching, sometimes you just use what you have sitting in your inventory, foregrip wise. BT, you can use the B10 over here with the Bastion, that works. If you use the B33 here, then you need to use the B10M plus B19. RPG1 to get one extra recoil thing, ergonomics, plus 1 RP1 charge handle here. As well, specifically with the NSPU scope on it, he wants that thing. And you also need the iCup here, I think, to get the numbers correct. MPEG-15 specifically he asked for, so you need to get that laser, and the GL Shock stock as well. 12 is an AK-102. This time we did use another scope because we can use the 25mm with the pellet. That works on this build, unlike with the other builds where we used the Bravo 4 to get the 800 meter range. What you need specific parts here is that grip over here, the olive green one, the R Rotor 43 silencer, and the Clash 2U from Zenith flashlight. This MPX, yeah, this is mostly about those three parts. The skeletonized grip, which is the T-Day, what is this, 120,001 or something. The annihilator flash hider, and the last Tag 2 flashlight. Those three specific parts he asked for. Other than that, you need to have some grip to get the numbers correct. 14, the AKMN this time. This time we use the Compact 2X to get 500 meter range. You probably need the RP1 charge handle here from Zenith to get that extra ergonomics. You might get stuck on 46.5. The AFG M-Lock, going very expensive. Make sure you get the black one. That's the most important one, because people are selling the stealth gray one for a lot of money, and it does not work. It needs to be the black one. Stealth gray is not black. Other than that, mag pull over here, pistol grip, stock, and also here the Mo AKM. 15, it's mostly about this Archangel stock. We bring in the Night Force again to get the 2000 meters, 22-inch barrel, the Holosun LS321 laser, and then the T1 micro sight, specific parts that he asked for. And then you need a bit of a muzzle brake to get the numbers where you want them to be. And then the last one, 16, again an M4, but this time a bit more expensive than the one that you had to build in part number 4. The Grell S pistol grip, the emote, stock works. The most expensive part here is obviously the night scope, the Reaper, and you also need the eye-cup, because otherwise your numbers will be too high. MK10 handguard, this thing over here, specifically asked for, and also the QDSS silencer, which means you also need the QDC flash hider. That's sort of it. All the builds that you can see while I was talking about it. You can see all the parts here in these little squares. I hope that shows on the video. And the numbers you can see there, so you can see that the numbers are correct to turn them in. All 16 gunsmith parts. Part number 4 gives you a Bitcoin, part number 6 gives you 2 Bitcoins, part number 8 gives you 2 Bitcoins. There are also 2 ammo cases in there at a certain moment. I think part 11 or 12 you get that as a reward. And eventually the weapon case when you turned in all 16 gunsmith parts. And that will be it for this video. Gunsmith Questline for patch 12.11 in Escape from Tarkov. That's what you have been looking at here. Thanks for watching. I hope it helped some of you out there. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.